Hey everybody, welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. This is our Christmas is in 2 days, so we got to get a podcast done. So let's just go edition. And with me this week are two of the fantastic co-hosts we could see. Corey is proving he's a recurring cast member by not being here, but we still have Liz Harper and Joe Perez. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
And we got a fair amount to talk about, actually. A lot of it World of Warcraft related. But first, Liz, you want to mention some Patreon changes?
Yes. Well, not really changes. I just here to remind you that Blizzard Watch is made possible by listeners like you. And I know I have been harping on this recently that we are kind of hovering around $3,900, and we'd like to be at around $4,000 on Patreon. And you guys may be thinking, okay, Liz, you keep saying you're at $3,900 a month, and you keep reading out new Patreon subscribers. What's up with that math? And, well, the thing is, I celebrate our new subscribers, but people also unsubscribe, or they downgrade their subscription. It happens, maybe in the end of the month, your credit card changes and the payment doesn't go through, or you, it's the holidays. Maybe you don't have the spare cash. I totally understand it. But, every week we get a couple of new subscribers, and we kind of lose a couple of subscribers or downgrade a couple of subscribers. So we're still hovering. When I just checked, it was $3,918, and we're still trying to get to that 4,000 is kind of our happy place. I know that's not a lot, but that's just that's the line in the sand there that we're trying to reach. I do want to thank Carnage for subscribing this week at $8 a month, and Joshua for subscribing at $5 a month. Both of y'all are getting ads free on the site, which is great, as well as getting these podcasts early and with a bonus pre-show content at the beginning, though because it's the holidays, we have skipped the pre-show this week.
Yeah, we might end up doing a post-show that's longer than normal because we have a ton of games besides Blizzard ones to talk about.
Or, that could just be the show. So if you can support us financially, that's great. Go to Blizzard Watch. Why do I always get this wrong? Go to patreon.com/Blizzard Watch, and any amount helps. And if you can't, I get it. But we subscribing to the show helps a lot. We appreciate your moral support, and we appreciate you listening. So thank you so much for being here.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to we should mention the new podcast feed, Liz.
Oh, wow. I am already messing this up. Those of you who have been listeners for a while know that sometimes we have a podcast called Tavern Watch, and that has always gone out on the Blizzard Watch or Lore Watch feeds, depending on what it is and kind of our back and forth decision on where it belongs. That is now getting its own feed. You should be able to search in your podcast player for Tavern Watch and find us. Except it is not up on Apple Podcasts yet. We're working on that. Apparently, Apple has changed how it handles podcasts in the last decade when we last set up a new podcast. So we're figuring that out right now. It should be up. I hope it'll be up soon. But if you want to hear more of us talking about tabletop, you should search for Tavern Watch in your podcast player or on Spotify, and you will get all of our new episodes. I am planning to upload the first episode of a new tabletop game we've been playing, and I hope y'all enjoy it. So, subscribe to Tavern Watch if you want to listen to that. It's going to be so fun. So, thank you very much.
Okay, now we'll move on to talking about various things because there's a fair chunk to talk about. Wow, what the heck was that? First up, in modern WoW or retail WoW or whatever people call it, new festive raid bosses in Nerubar Palace. Liz has made sure to tell me that none of these bosses are as festive as Razagoth with the hat and the tiny wreath and the tiny arms. If you don't remember last year, and still, right? If you went and did Razagoth now...
but there's a lower volume between Razagoth now.
Yeah,
so...
but regardless, if you still feel like going, she's still got the hat, she's still got the wreath, she's still very into this holiday that she's never heard of and has no idea what it's about. Doesn't care. Winter Veil, whatever, give me the hat. And that's what's happening.
And honestly, where did they get these hats? Did someone does someone come through selling hats to raid bosses? What is going on?
I believe that there's a
kinda...
dark figure who steps out of a misty corner and just simply says, hats. And then they just take them.
Is it Xalatath? Is Xalatath running around in the shadows giving people hats? Because she kind of seems behind everything.
She's too like, I want to say like she's socially awkward, but in a different way. Like she's almost too charismatic, and people would be like, wow, you're charismatic. I don't trust you. But I think it's very much like Xalato, the axe desecrated image of Gorhel. It turns out it got out of that too, and now it's possessed a body, but it just, it's just selling hats. But regardless, I want to mention that we've got in Priory of the Sacred Flame, you've got Prioress Murpray. So if you want to get a hat, there's a hat on that one. Speaker Shadow Crown on the Dawnbreaker also has a hat. Bank Buzzbee in Cinderbreak Meadery hat, and Citrine in Nerubar Palace. But also, apparently, Brood Twister. I cannot read this word. Brood Twister Overnax has given little hats to the worm eggs. Like all the little worm eggs have hats. Well, at least some of them do.
That does kind of compete with Razagath, but it's just Razagath holding that wreath in her tiny, tiny arms. Cracks me up each time.
It's the difference between cute and also somewhat cute and pathetic. Like the worm eggs just wearing hats. It's whatever. They're not clutching that wreath as tight as they can in their minuscule little arms and just seem really thrilled with the entire concept. But we've got Nexus Princess Kaiveza. She's in the Queen's bedroom and she's apparently got some kind of surprise. Looks pretty like she's Christmas oriented. I mean, Wintervale. My apologies. What else we got here? Oh yeah, Queen Anserek. Yep, definitely got a Wintervale hat on. She actually does look somewhat festive. It's weird.
The Overnax eggs are really the topper, though.
You really think so?
Yeah.
They're eggs with hats.
I do. How?
I just want to make sure that everyone agrees.
Yeah, I think. But I don't think Overnax also has kind of weird tiny arms. I don't think Overnax has any. Are like a bunch of wreaths and candy canes. It could have been a whole thing. But I do appreciate the vast number of hats that Overnax has decorated the room with.
And one on their own self. They're also wearing a hat.
Which, the real question is, Overnax has tiny arms. How do you get that hat on your head? I can see Overnax going around and putting them on the eggs, but the head? I don't know.
Prehensile mouth.
I was actually going to suggest that they just throw the hat up in the air and try and catch it with their back spikes. But regardless, I also want to mention, although he's listed, so we already mentioned him briefly, but Citrine, I don't know how that's pronounced, I can go down a second, but Citrine's got his hat, and he looks very, very, he looks like he does not want you to take his hat. I think that's the best way to put it. He likes this hat, he's keeping this hat, and he will unleash horrible violence against anybody who tries to take the hat, thus proving that Citrine does not understand the season at all, but regardless, he likes his hat.
It also looks slightly oversized, like it's about to fall down his face. WoW needs more of this. More holiday decorations on raid bosses, because it's great. They need
to do more wreaths. Like you could have another one that's, I was just thinking about this. You could do a Twin Emps fight where one of them has a wreath just across their chest like a bandolier. Like, just seriously, guys, more wreaths. I think wreaths would be great. Before we talk about, I don't want to get sidetracked too much into talking about hats on.
I know it's so easy. It's so easy to get sidetracked, though.
We should mention the Citrine drops and so forth for patch 11.0.7. You say somebody talk about the bugged gem dropping conundrum. I don't know if I'm the right person for it, but I will still talk about it because I'm here.
I think, unfortunately, I was hoping Phil would be here to talk about this, but now we have to talk about it ourselves.
Yeah. The hotfix has apparently gone out as of this is as of 3 days ago.
This week, yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, you go to the Siren Isle and you can get this new ring, Circe's Circlet. Circe's Circlet is powered up by getting gem drops across the Isles. And apparently some of the events there have been bugged, and things do not always drop the gems they're supposed to. It has frankly been such a big thing. I've been like, I'm just washing my hands on this, and I'll try again after the holidays. But another thing is that the gem drops were time gated. And so you had the thing that, like, each week there would be a different kind of invasion on the Siren Isles from a different type of mob. And Blizzard was kind of like theming it, which sounds really cool. It's like, okay, this week, this kind of mob is invading, so this kind of gem is going to drop. And next week, this kind of mob is invading, so this other type of gem is going to drop. Except the problem with that is that you aren't getting the gems you want. It's like, this week is just this gem. This week is just that gem. So the ring has been really, like, a little extra underpowered this week. Wowhead was saying that it is, with the week 1 gems, it was the equivalent of a 575 ring. And not great. And
just to make sure people know this, that's a drop of like 67 levels, like from 642 down to 575 in terms of its power. That means you're underperforming by like almost like 70 something item level.
Yeah, it's a little sad right now. So Blizzard removed the time gating from the gems, so all gems can now drop, so you can get the gems that you want. But from my understanding, it's still kind of buggy. Hopefully, by the time everyone listens to this, everything will be great. Except it's also the holidays, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the possibility that we won't see. They've already said they've hot fixed it, and they've put in the new cycle of getting gems whenever you need them. I'm going to read the specific thing. The gems belonging to the goblins, Arathi, and Earthen should come from doing events on the Isle that are started at the Siren Isle command map. After getting these once, you'll be able to buy them and store them in your warbank for your alts as usual. The gems that belong to enemy factions should now be purchasable from Taljon, I think Taljori, that's it. The Tortolan vendor sitting on the large rock behind Bargus. So this is the system that's, instead of the Citrines coming from just the theme of it, and it's a rotating basis, and you just have to wait for the specific one. Now they should just be available, period. So that's it's a
good change. It's a nice quality of life improvement.
Yeah, we'll see how well it actually ends up working out for people, but I certainly think it's better than waiting until you get the drop you need. So yeah, that's something. This ring. The problem with this ring is the same problem we had last expansion with the similar ring. And I feel like in general, these things they're doing with these kind of items. First off, the fact that they're always rings, that's just weird. But also the fact that it's dependent on drops. So in order for you to get the ring up to where it's actually good, you need to get, certain gems to drop for it. What was it for the last time? It wasn't gems, was it?
It was gems.
It was gems.
Okay. So yeah,
it was gems.
I feel like this reminds me of going all the way back to Mechagon with the trinket that you had the punch cards that you put into it.
Yeah.
It's just like these kind of things. I get where you're going for. You're trying to give people customization options, but I'm not seeing any customization. I'm seeing people get mad because they can't get the gem that's the best for what they need. So yeah,
that's how it.
I don't know.
That's how it all turns out.
Go ahead.
Joe, go ahead. No, you, Joe.
I like the fact that it's transmogable. I kind of hate everything else about it. I'm not gonna lie. And it's just not for me. Like, I don't like this type of item. I don't like this type of itemization. I don't like this type of thing in general. I hated it last year. This one at least feels a little more fair. So I'm not going to say I hate it. I'm just going to say that I don't like it. It's wildly boring is really the best way that I can put it to me. Oh, I get a gem that if I'm a healer, because that's what I do, grants me a secondary stat. Great. Everything else already does that. Cool. It's a lot of your secondary stat. Cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. Or maybe the next one is your spells and abilities have a chance to bathe an ally in restorative water that jumps to 2 nearby allies, restores X health to each of them. I'm a shaman. I already do that. So this is like, okay, cool. Free extra healing. Maybe. We'll see if it's smart and actually goes to people that need it as opposed to overheal. Time will tell. And then, like, what is it? I think the other one that they say is, like, best in slot for, like, Resto Shaman is the Skipper's Citrine, where your spells and abilities have a chance to cast a random singing Citrine effect at 150% effectiveness. These are boring to me. These are just stat procs. We already, that's all our trinkets have been doing this entire expansion, are stat procs. So why do I care about a ring that's a stat proc again? And the other thing that I hate about it is variance. And I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I'm not trying to be too negative because, again, I know some people really love this and it's working out really well for some DPS classes. But because it's a proc, it's never truly 100% consistent. And the length of a fight and the number of spells you cast will always vary how often that ring procs. And yes, there's an average, but if I have less mana or my stuff costs more, which in a lot of cases it does, than another healer and they get more casts off, theirs is very likely to proc more often, which means now I fall further behind, which means I feel worse about the job that I'm doing. I don't like random procs in general. Because there's no way to make them consistent, it becomes annoying to me. And again, I'm not trying to take anything away. I know that they've worked really hard. I actually really like the island in general. I think it's really, really cool. I think there's a lot of really rad lore stuff that is hinted at in it. I think there's a lot of cool things that happen there, but the ring is just, it's underwhelming. I would have rather personally not had an item to farm and not had gems to farm and just waited for the next tier of raid and gotten something from the next tier of raid. But that's just me. So that's my 2 cents. I will shut up now and let people talk about happier stuff. I apologize.
You don't have to apologize for having an opinion. That's kind of what the show's for.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Liz, do you have anything else you want to say about it before we move on?
No, Joe really covered it. We're playing the same song over and over again right now, and it's yeah.
Okay, then we're going to move on to the patch notes, but we're not going to bother to try to read all the patch notes. I am going to ask
so many.
Who here feels like they have an understanding of Drive, DRIVE? What is this? Is this like the equivalent of like dragon riding was last expansion?
It's dragon riding for cars, yeah.
So now you can take cars.
It's kind of like Mario Kart. It's Mario Kart in WoW.
With faster speed, because it can go faster than dragon riding.
Yes. I do need to point out that Drive stands for Dynamic and Revolutionary Improvements to Vehicular Experiences. So, I mean, you can just, it's a Goblin thing, you can just see that. And yes, at maximum speed, it will be faster than skywriting. And there will also be races in Undermine that you can do. And the Blizzard has talked about how, Undermine is designed for driving, and apparently driving really fast. Like, faster than skywriting? That is so fast! Skywriting is already so fast!
There's gonna be a lot of people hitting walls.
Yeah, like me hitting walls all the time.
You're gonna see a streamer breaking out like the Logitech steering wheel with the pedals and figuring out how to map everything and going ham on the races. Like, that's what's going to happen. I'm calling it now.
Mm-hmm. And you can customize your car so that maybe you have better handling. Maybe you go faster. So to hit that maximum speed, you'll probably have to optimize for going fast. Personally, I would rather go slower and be able to steer better. Yeah, those are words.
You want to know what this is, and nobody's talking about it, and it makes me really upset that nobody's talking about this. This is rock and roll racing. That's all this is. Literally go back and look at the customization for 2002 rock and roll racing, because I think that's when it released. Might have been earlier than that. But it was on the Super Nintendo. But that was the thing. They're talking about, you want to accelerate faster, you might have to sacrifice some top speed, maybe a little bit of handling. It's not bad, and I want to make sure that I'm being clear about this. I don't. This is not me disliking it. I just think it's funny that nobody's connected that dot yet. That this is literally rock and roll racing being put into WoW, which is hilarious.
1993, Joe.
I'm dust. Just, you pulled out the time, so that was 1993. It came out to the Genesis in 1994.
So it's possible that people playing WoW now have never even heard of this.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, rock and roll racing came out so long ago that it's 10 years older than WoW, 11 years older than WoW. So, yeah.
Now, if there's a racetrack announcer on the courses named Larry, I will be vindicated because it'll be 1-to-1 at that point.
You'll be vindicated anyway, man. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I'm just saying the reason that you and I might recognize it while other people might not is because we ancient, yes. However, there's also other things to talk about. For instance,
So many.
There's the Liberation of Undermine, which is a raid. If you've been wondering what's been up with Gallywix this whole time, apparently started himself a casino, and he hid in it. I don't remember if the Galagio was in Undermine if you started playing a goblin back in Cataclysm.
You never went into the Undermine back then.
Yeah. So we just stayed on top of the area, top of it, right?
Yeah, we were just on top. And he referred to his casino. So I think they've referenced it. We've just never seen it.
Now you will get to see it as you attempt to fight your way through people with names like, and I'm going to read as many of these as I can, Vexy and the Gear Grinders, which sounds less like a boss in WoW and more like an album someone might have released.
It's going to be a 50 super group of goblins singing. It's been a while since we've had a musical boss.
Cauldrons of Carnage, Rick Reverb, Styx Bunchunk.
Bunk Junker.
Bunk Junker. I was like, that's gotta not be Bun. Sprocket Monger, Lockenstock, the One-Armed Bandit. I am positive that's going to be some kind of reference to a slot machine boss. Mugsy, Heads of Security, so it's likely got two heads. And Chrome King Gallywix. I want to know what Chrome King Gallywix is all about.
So, I mean, I'm guessing it has to do with racing because everything is racing themed. And I mean, looking at this, like, you know, Rick Reverb, Styx, Bunk Junker, Sprocket Monger, Lock and Stock, like these all sound like racing things. Then you have the casino stuff like the One-Armed Bandit, which I think I agree with. The Vexy and the Gear Grinder sounds like a show that you'd see at the Bellagio. I don't know what Cauldron of Carnage is, but I'm guessing it's a destruction derby. I have not. Go ahead.
Cauldron of Carnage. There is a gorilla and a mechanical Tyrannosaurus fighting, and that's all I have. I think it is literally like a battle arena for the amusement of patrons.
Mechagon fighting ring, got it.
I'm just hoping at some point a goblin girl with extremely long red hair kills the robot T-Rex. just that's my thing. I want to see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting, and I'm really curious to see how it goes. I'm just really happy I get to punch Gallywix in the face. Like, I have been waiting for that for years. But I'm curious, and the fact that it only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, only 8 bosses, not a bad thing. I'm actually pretty okay with that.
Yeah, I think in general it's okay to have less bosses, or even in some cases to have like different raids with a few bosses rather than have one big raid with like 12 bosses. I think in this case, a lot of the idea of having, you know, a huge raid with a lot of bosses, it's moved instead towards they're having this raid and then having the dungeon which has 4 bosses. So there's the Operations Floodgates dungeon, which is basically the Dark Fuse and Venture Company are trying to blow up a dam. And I don't know why they're doing that, but they are.
Well, they want to flood the Ringing Deeps.
Yeah. Why? No.
Because they want to make a new resort. That's like a whole thing.
Okay. But regardless, you've got 4 bosses in that thing. I'm just gonna mention Big Mama. It's MOMMA was like, you know, so it's an acronym for something.
Swamp Face has to be a Swamp Thing analog.
Or yeah, probably. But regardless, so there's another bunch of bosses there too, and there's the Cage of Carnage is an arena PvP apparently. No, it just says arena. It does not say arena PvP.
No, it is. That is a new PvP arena. It's very small, compact, without much in the way of obstacles, just some platforms. So that's really just get in and go kind of PvP arena. Okay,
so there were also a bunch of class changes. Nothing here is like immediately jumping out at me that I would feel the need to talk about it, but if either of you have anything you want to talk about, that's cool.
It's a lot of the constant class tuning we're seeing. Although I will say one thing that I think of note is that warriors are currently not happy. Prot warriors in particular, because there is a massive adjustment to how rage is generated. So Prot warriors were heralded as one of the high like APM or action per minute like tank classes, where you can always cycle through your abilities. You can do whatever you needed to do, kind of like how it used to be in the glory days. But now they're looking at like they're lowering the the rage generation, and people are already planning on switching mains or going to DPS now, just because. And I think it's because it was overperforming a little bit on rage generation, and I think they're overcorrecting too hard. We'll see how it works out in the end, but I've heard a lot of people. I work with a lot of nerds that play the game. Hi, nerds. And like, I literally walked in a meeting today where 3 of them were complaining about this because they all play prot warrior mains.
I mean, we do have to remember that we have patch notes for 11.1, but it's not even on the PTR. Apparently there is a PTR build up, but it's not live. Wowhead's been doing some data mining, but this is a first draft. We could still see changes happening here. So my thoughts would be, if you see something you don't like, don't panic. Go to the forums and leave your feedback. And Blizzard has shown, I think, a lot more willingness to make changes based on player feedback than they have in the past.
Yeah, one thing that I did want to note real quick is Shaman are also very upset because Ancestral Guidance is being removed, at least according to the notes, which that's a major cooldown there, folks. What are you doing? Don't make me sad. Please don't make me sad. All right, you can go ahead.
I will say one of the big changes going around has been augmentation of evokers no longer being able to buff tanks and healers, which I think has been really over advertised. Like, I heard a lot of panic about this initially, but what's really happening is that they cannot cast Ebon Might on tanks or healers. That is a little downgrade. That's kind of our big buff. That's gonna have a little impact on tanks and healers potentially, particularly in Dungeon and Mythic Plus content, where usually you would hit Ebon Might and everyone gets it. Now your tanks and healers won't get it. In raids, it should go to more DPS players, which is, I think that's probably pretty good. But you'll still have other buffs. Your other buffs can still go on tanks and healers as you desire. And it feels like they're getting kind of a baseline power increase. Like, they're shifting a little bit more into the evoker's damage and performance, which we've seen that going on with augmentation for a while, where they're kind of adjusting, okay, how much is the evoker doing and how much are they buffing others? It feels like Blizzard is still trying to just kind of feel out where a support class sits in World of Warcraft.
Which is understandable, right? We haven't really had a class like this, a spec like this in particular before. Like, this is new territory. We're still figuring things out.
Absolutely. Another change that is pretty noteworthy for some of you guys out there is Marksmanship Hunters. No longer going to have pets.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, though.
I think it makes sense, but I also think that from an emotional standpoint, that people are going to have and have had a pretty negative reaction to this. Like, imagine you've been playing a hunter for 20 years.
I have.
And you have your favorite pet. Yeah, you got your favorite pet. But now you're playing marksmanship, you don't have your favorite pet.
Good news. You can always good news, you can always play Beastmaster.
That is true. But it does focus.
It does make it so that if you are someone who considers their pets a crucial part of your gameplay experience, then marksmanship is not a spec you will be able to play.
Yeah.
And I get that, on the one hand, sure, but you can still play the other two. But that's not been something hunters have gone through. I'm literally like hearing my wife's thoughts in my head right now. She's beaming them to me from the other room. So for myself, it's like, I don't play hunter.
But there's a I think less overlap between people that want to live the class fantasy and the people that want to maximize DPS than that. Yeah. I think if people want to live the class fantasy, they're more willing to just go ahead and play Beast Mastery. And the same way that the hunters that wanted to shoot things have just ignored survival for X number of expansions. Right. Like, and those were the same people that were complaining that you're ruining my class fantasy because survival shouldn't be melee. And then they just played other versions of the class. Like, I think for a casual player, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I'm not trying to, for those of you out there that are upset, I want to say that your feelings are valid and I see you. But I think overall, I think that this kind of makes thematic sense for where hunters have been going for a while. And Marksman in particular has been a spec that since they've been reworking it over the course of the last 3 expansions, it's relied so little on the pet and in fact rewarded you for not taking the pet that it sort of has shifted into the fantasy of you are the patient hunter / sniper in the trees, like waiting for your time to kill, versus the action combat of what survival is, or the Beastmaster trying to sit there and summon Kodo and Podo and send them at somebody like Beastmaster. So I understand that people are going to be upset, but I think ultimately it just kind of falls in line with what they were already doing with Marksman Hunters for a while now.
And I said they're losing pets. You kind of have a pet, but not in the traditional sense. So you're losing access to the pets as we know them today, but you will be permanently joined in battle by an eagle. But the eagle, Blizzard says permanently joined in battle, but the eagle actually shows up kind of when called. You might use a certain skill and it will show up and dive bomb your enemies or have a chance to proc on something like that. So you have this still kind of animal companion aspect, but a lot less of it.
So
I think it sounds really cool.
That's what Asan does in
It really is. Yeah, Asan's not there most of the time, and then you use a skill, and suddenly he is there diving on your enemies, and that, frankly, that's pretty great. That's
really weird is when you use the skills without Davrin there, and he still shows up because you use the magic Solus knife. Like, does Davrin notice that Asan just vanishes for a second? It's like, what happened? What did Brooke make you do? Sorry, this is not about WoW. I'm moving back.
But yeah, random Marksmanship Hunters will now have a random eagle that will appear by their side to destroy their enemies. It's not bad.
I'm going to say this does not sound good to me, and I don't like it. But I don't play Hunters very often. I'm just looking at warrior stuff real fast. I get why prot warriors are mad, guys. Once I looked at this really seriously, a lot of the rage stuff, it isn't even just, woohoo, boy, okay, impenetrable wall, booming voice. Oh, wow, yeah, this is going to, if people don't quit prot warriors to tank on other classes, they're either crazy like me, or they just don't care if they can hold aggro properly. Like, I'm straight up going to say this. These tanks are going to either die constantly, or like threats going to just peel off of them. If they're spending their rage to keep from dying, they will be generating nothing. If they spend it generating, they will die. So yeah, this ain't great. No. The ignore pain change is nice. Maybe that will help. But yeah. The change to Colossal Might's fine, and everything else here is fine, as far as I can tell. At least the Arms of Fury stuff doesn't feel like it will break those classes. There are changes, but nothing that feels like those specs will be broken. Prot's dead. This is gory. When this comes out on the PTR, guys, get on there, test it, because if I'm wrong, I'd like to know. Maybe I can do that. But if it is as bad as I think it is, definitely tell Blizzard. Do not let this go live without saying something, because yikes.
Again, this is preview content. We've gotten patch notes and nothing else. The PTR is set to go live sometime in the new year. It's not live yet, so there's lots of time to still offer feedback, test this out, see how it plays, and get Blizzard to tweak stuff that is not working.
Yeah, absolutely. But regardless, as you said, those are the patch notes. There's a lot more, but if we tried reading all of it, it would literally be the entire show.
No, we should not.
Yeah.
No.
So I didn't mention the class set bonuses. They're going to be goblin-y, but guys, we'll wait for them till we actually have something concrete to talk to about them. These are just right now. They're just there.
I mean, we do know a fair amount about the class set bonuses, which are interesting because the 2-piece class set bonus will be split by role. So there isn't a 2-piece for shaman or a 2-piece for hunters. There is a 2-piece for melee DPS, a 2-piece for range DPS, a 2-piece for healers, a 2-piece for tanks that everyone will have. And then your 4-piece set bonus is based on your spec, not just your class, even though they did kind of shift per spec. They were all the same kind of basic format. So this is a new way of thinking about class sets, which is, frankly, it is kind of interesting. This is another thing. It's such a different way of thinking about this. We really have to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to feel very different, but it's unusual.
Yeah, like they have lists here of what they're going to be,
So-
but I don't think that there's, I don't know. So that, like looking at there's specific ones for specific classes. Like Feral, the 2-piece set bonus is the same that other people who are doing melee DPS is kind of, but then the 4-piece is specifically about Apex Predator. So it is kind of hard to wrap your mind around looking at this.
Well,
I'm not used to this, but it could be good. I don't know.
And it's weird because I don't even know how to approach this, because they have goblin themed things. Like, let me just read the augmentation evoker one because it's in front of me. Set bonus, your damaging spells have a chance to hit a jackpot, causing an upheaval at 100% effectiveness that does not knock enemies up. Casting Breath of Eons always hits a jackpot. So, what's a jackpot? This is a kind of buff that we see across classes. And jackpot rewards different benefits based on the spec with a chance to proc. Then you have other keywords: luck of the draw for tanks, winning streak for melee DPS, and insurance for healers. And those kind of class effects are the same based on your class role. And it's just, I'm interested in seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, like Affliction Warlocks have the exact same thing with jackpot. But
yeah,
looking at
I mean, it is the same for all class types.
Shadow Priests.
Yeah.
So yeah, it basically it's there. It's just I really wanted to see people take it for a run because I want to know exactly what they do before I get too excited about this. But for example, Prot's funny because it's like the luck of the draw thing, and then it does a different thing. Luck of the draw for a Prot warrior activates Shield Wall for 4 seconds. So which not every class is getting. Not all tanks are getting that, but they're all getting luck of the draw.
They get a luck of the draw proc, which affects a specific spell.
Yeah, their cooldown.
Just like ranged DPS are all getting jackpot, which affects a specific spell.
Yeah, so I'm not negative about this. I just want to see it. I want to see it actually get used. I want to see how does this compare for this class versus that class. Because they are making them somewhat unique whilst at the same time using the same language, the luck of the draw thing or what have you, whichever one it is for the role you're playing. Like, for example, Elemental Shamans, Jackpot, Enhancement Shamans, it's the same as the what's it called? The Winning Streak.
Winning Streak for melee DPS.
Yeah. But it instead it increases the damage of Storm Strike, Crash Lightning, and Lava Lash, which is of course not what it does for rogues. So it's going to divide, how good is the set bonus for, say, like a combat rogue versus an enhancement shaman. There's going to be a lot of discussion about it that currently we can't really tell you how good it's going to be or not. But it is interesting to see this. Like, it's interesting to see when you gain a stack of Winning Streak, the cooldown for Doom Winds is reduced by 2 seconds. So Doom Winds is an enhancement ability, but Winning Streak is the thing that procs your 2-piece. So your 4-piece bonus is based on your class and specifically your spec, but it's also based on the 2-piece set bonus because your 4-piece isn't active until you get your 2-piece.
Yeah.
When your 2-piece procs, that's when your 4-piece starts doing stuff. I don't know if every class is doing that, but it's interesting to see how that works.
That's definitely not true for the ones I'm in front of me. I do not think that's the case for everybody.
Oh, so for enhancement example, that one ties off. But not for, no, actually, Elemental Restoration Shaman also do it. When you're feeling rain, one ally in the rain has insurance applied to them. When insurance is consumed, your next chain heal, healing surge, or healing wave is increased by 10%. So, yeah, there's a lot of different mechanical approaches to these. I'm actually very interested to see how they end up playing out. Like you mentioned the augmentation evoker. The preservation evoker has insurance the same way, but Verdant Embrace always grants insurance to you and your target for 6 seconds, and its cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds. So Verdant Embrace could become a much more cast spell. I'm not an evoker, so I don't know how good Verdant Embrace is right now, but if it gives insurance to you and your target every time, because that's a heal over time for 15 seconds, you could just keep using it and effectively just keep everybody with a rolling hot. So that's interesting. I don't know how it'll stack up. We talked about drive already, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's delves.
Yeah, there are new delves.
Excavation State 9, which is behind the Opportunity Point in the southern portion of the Ringing Deeps, and Side Street Sluice. Wow, sluice is not a word I like using. In the sewers of Undermine. There will also be new variants of Goblin Thief delves for the majority of the current The War Within delves. Do we know the new delve variants are going to be?
Yes,
I don't see
in the sort of overall arcing theme of it, it's going to be Goblin themed. That's what we know so far.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I'm asking, like, do we know, like, if it's going to be, like, what the Goblin variation thing is going to be? We don't know that yet.
I don't know that it's been up on the PTR yet, so I don't know that we know.
No.
But I mean, just to kind of go through it real quick, there are a lot of changes happening. There's going to be a new challenge encounter, very much like the Cathraxi-ish mod that we had to go hunt down. I can never remember his name. It's like Zevix or something. And then everything is going to be looked at for Bron. Thank you. And Bron is going to get an additional role now, which I think this is the most important part that I want to talk about with the delves, not just because we're going to get two new delves in the reshuffle. He's finally getting a tank role, which is something that I think he should have had from the beginning. And I'm glad to see that they're listening to player feedback and putting this in, because him as DPS, he couldn't really hold aggro. And if you were a fragile class trying to do higher level delves, you just kind of exploded.
I'm just loving the fact that his tanking spec is he has a shield and a gun.
Also, can we talk about the fact that Bron has a sentry totem?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the original sentry totem.
That wound! Sorry.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the cool thing that Sentry Totem used to do. It just does, more.
It doesn't matter. He still gets it, and I don't. Why don't I get a Sentry Totem?
Well, because he stole it.
I just want to see the sailboat, man. I just want to see the sailboat.
But he's not a shaman, right? Ron's not a shaman.
He's not a shaman. So he's a hunter.
How is he dropping a totem?
I don't know. He probably stole it from a tomb.
He stole it. Yeah, exactly.
He does what he wants.
He stole that thing, and now that's why we don't get it. But it's fine. It's fine. But I just still think it's cool that we're going to have a shield and a gun, because if we're going to keep going along the line of marksmen don't have pets anymore except for this eagle that just shows up to do spells, like, hi, I'm a Budget Hassan. I want marksmen to get specs, the talents they can take where they can tank, and I want them to be able to tank with a shield and a gun. I want there to be a shield that they can put on their inventory and just wear for tanking while shooting over the rim of it. We
call those breachers.
Yeah, I want to see that thing.
If we start getting hunters as breachers, no, I'm out.
But also you'll be able to get higher level crests in delves, which you didn't mention, which is cool.
Well, that's just across the board, and that's with all the content. They're going to increase the tier of crests that you can get, because again, it's that whole, I don't want to say catch-up mechanic, but it's moving forward with the content and the tier. So that I didn't mention it because I think it was just kind of something that people will see as you're doing it. Yeah, I think that's not as important.
Okay, so then we can move on to the Garden Gnome Transmog then?
I was going to say we should probably talk about the Season 2 Mythic dungeons a little bit as well, because that's kind of a big important one.
Okay, start talking. You've stolen my Garden Gnome Transmog for me, so you
can talk about your Garden Gnome Transmog when we're done with this, because I think this is something that a lot of players are going to want to be interested in hearing about. First of all, we finally get our Season 2 Mythic Plus dungeon rotation, which is going to be Operation Floodgate, which is one of the new dungeons, Cinderbrew Meadery, the Rookery, Dark Flame Cleft, Priory of the Sacred Flame, the Motherlode, Mechagon Workshop, and the Theater of Pain. That is one heck of a rotation, and some of those are going to be absolutely nasty. I am very curious to see how the Motherlode's going to get reworked, because way back in the day when it was current, that thing could punch you like no other dungeon at that tier. Mechagon was also not known for being a walk in the park. So seeing those get added in, as well as Theater of Pain, it's going to be a very interesting season. I also see that there's going to be a new achievement, which is the War Within Keystone Legend Season 2, which is going to require you to get a rating of at least 2850, which I believe is up from 2500. But the most important change is that failing to clear a Mythic Plus dungeon within the timer will no longer reduce the level of your Keystone below 12 for the season. And I think that's really, really good. I think that's finally good. People have been asking for this. This is fantastic. Thank you for listening to the basically everybody's feedback, because I will tell you that one of the worst feelings in the world is getting right to the end and then getting your key bricked because somebody decided that they didn't want to be in the group anymore. And it's happened to me 3 times this season. 3 times I have lost my +10 key because somebody was like, yeah, we're done. We're not going to make the timer even though we had plenty of time, and just left, bricking my key. So thank you, Blizzard. I appreciate you listening.
He appreciates you listening. Garden Gnome. Go ahead, Liz.
We did skip something that I think is very interesting about the Galagio, which is the Galagio Loyalty Rewards Program, which is a renown track for the Galagio. We don't know how you'll earn on this renown track, but it probably involves running the raid. That's just a random guess. And as you earn on this rewards program, you will get stacking damage and healing buffs. So kind of like what we have now in Narubar Palace, where we collect silk scraps from bosses and we turn them in every other week for an overall buff. So this is going to be kind of the same thing. There's a stacking damage and healing buff at Renown 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19. We do not know the exact amounts. You get a chance of getting free augment runes on the Renown trap. You will unlock a raid skip and a raid portal by progressing down the Renown track. And you will get a dinar-like currency, which we last saw those, I believe, in Shadowlands Season 4, where you could get these...
Dungeon? They were for the dungeon, that not the ethereals.
Well, it was a currency that you could trade into vendors for basically any piece of gear that you hadn't had dropped, that you were not lucky to have dropped so far. And I think that's pretty cool, though it does seem like it's going to come late in the Renown track at 17 and 19. But it will let you kind of catch up on those things that just never drop for you. Or for transmog. I know I use all mine for transmog. It's the only thing important here.
Okay. Are we going to let me finally have the joy of talking about the gnome transmog?
I think that is a good segue.
You have to admit, the Galagio Loyalty Rewards Program, this is pretty great.
It's nice. It's just not as important as gnome transmog. Or any transmog, really. If you told me there was more transmog coming, I would immediately want it. The picture they have of this garden gnome armor set on this one gnome is perfection. It's got mushrooms for shoulders. It's just too good. The fact that I'm gonna have to race change somebody to a gnome because my gnome would not be able to get this otherwise. It looks ridiculously bad on humans. I don't know why all these pictures of it are with a human. Why are you doing this? This looks terrible on a human. But there's also double-bladed rooted garden trowels. There's two-handed weapons.
Are going to be. I wonder if these are coming to the trading post, like a spring theme.
It does feel like something that you might see on the trading post.
The mushroom shoulders feel kind of Mario Kart to me.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they're not really the same as blue shells or nothing, but yeah, I can see that. Did somebody make a whistling sound, or is that me? Apparently I'm
just over here making sounds. I didn't think I was making a whistling sound, but you never know.
Yeah, there's looking at these sets, they're basically just different colors. There's the garden attire, blooming attire, butterfly attire, and rooted attire, and that's basically, they're just different colors. I gotta say, I like the one with the red shoulders is the best one in my opinion. The green one is, but if you like mysterious and spooky things, or Iki and Uki's things, the green one is a pretty good choice because it's green.
It's just another sign that Blizzard lately is willing to go a little weirder than I think they used to with transmog and appearances. Yep. Because this is a little odd, like a tiny bit. I'd
like to see it on Volpera and goblins. It looks awesome on gnomes, and I want to see how it looks on, I think mecha gnomes, it might not work as well because mecha gnomes don't really get the full effect of their armor, which is also something that might make this look bad on undead, despite the fact that, they're already going to make it look bad by being somewhat humanoid and taller. I just, not liking this on the human. It's just not working. But it is super freaking cute. We still don't actually know where it's coming from. It does feel like a trade-in post thing.
We'll find out.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping we'll have a surprise gnome raid. That would be great if just next patch, boom, gnome raid. What? Why? The gnomes are taking over.
The only reason I would suspect that it's not a trading post reward is that there are 5 color variants. And usually you only see a couple of color variations with something on the trading post. Not impossible, but
they might
a little odd.
Yeah, they might just do a couple and the other 3 just don't ever show up. That's
that's been known to happen.
Or they could even make some some are trading posts, some are just straight up cash purchases. There is one that's a profession or reputation deal. We don't know, but nevertheless, I wanted to talk about it for so long. It's so cool. I am so happy. But we got some classic WoW stuff to talk about. Apparently, Phase 2 is in January 9th.
Yeah.
So that's for the WoW Classic, right?
Yes, WoW Classic. The anniversary realms are going into Phase 2 on January 9th, which is a lot faster than I think any of us expected.
Yeah,
based
on
the roadmap.
They just came out, right?
Yes, it just came out.
So yeah, that's pretty fast. Apparently, we're going to also see Dire Maul, and then Azurgos and Tizak are all going to be there as well. But
Phase 1 launched on December 12th, so this is really fast.
That is, yeah. And for phases in WoW, for WoW Classic, that's real fast.
Yeah. I will say Phase 2 is a little lightweight because it's Dire Maul, Azurgos, and Kazakh. It's a new updated honor system, as well as Alterac Valley and Warsong Gulch, which are actually coming a week after the phase launch. That's January 16th. The Battlegrounds will be added. So maybe they're going with this so close because it's like, okay, Phase 1 had the raids. Now we're hitting Phase 2, which has a new dungeon and some PvP stuff. But still, that's pretty speedy. I think we expected it to be in February based on the roadmap. But they're moving fast. I personally wonder if this means we're going to see TBC Classic hit the anniversary realms before the end of the year. Because on the WoW Classic roadmap, TBC Classic, I guess, was put in winter spring. Not this winter spring, but next winter spring, which suggests 2026. But with this kind of pacing, it seems late 2025 to me. But we'll see. We'll see where they do Phase 3. Are they going to do this crazy 1 month of Phase 2 thing, or are we going to space it out a little more?
Yeah, that's another interesting point, because with the Warsong Gulch and Alterac Valley coming on the 16th of January, then you're just going right into, if you wait till February for then February is a short month, so yeah, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. But we should also talk about these holidays and stuff that are also wrapping up or still going. Diablo 4's Sleigh Ride to Hell. That's ending on the 2nd of January, so you've got another week or so. After Christmas, you've got a week or so before you have to stop sleigh riding to hell. Winter Veil in WoW is still the 2nd as well. I think it's that, it says Winter Veil in World of Warcraft. So it's Warcraft Rumble, it's January 2nd.
Yes.
Winter Veil in World of Warcraft, we're going to the 5th of January. The 20th anniversary event is going through January 6th. If for some reason you haven't been participating, you've got till the 6th of January.
We are actually running out of time on that one. That felt, when it launched, it felt like, wow, this is going to go on forever. But no, it's almost over.
Winter Wonderland and Overwatch, also till January 6th. The Brutosaur is leaving on January 6th, the one that's currently up for sale. If you didn't buy your cash Brutosaur, you've got 2 weeks to pick it up.
For now.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if they put it on the trading post. Ooh, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. I think that would be some serious rage there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have to burn it down, don't you know? Anyway, whilst I'm doing Minnesota accents for no reason, we've actually got some questions this time. So, do you want to do the other games and then maybe try to do a question, or you want to just do the questions?
I think I'd like to talk a little bit about the other games. We skipped a
Alrighty.
pre-show this week, so I think we can shove in some other game talk here.
Alrighty then, let's start with the Steam Winter Sale. with great deals on games old and new. Anything either one of you have looked at and thought, oh, I want to get that?
I want to get that, but there are like some old games that I have played, and I'm like, wow. On one hand, I'm glad I didn't wait because I love these games, but on the other hand, I'm like, wow. A Firewatch is $2, which
you should absolutely play that game. Oh, please do yourself a favor.
It is an incredible game. Prey is $2.99. That is so much game. That is so much super creepy game, perfect for the holiday season.
If you want to, however, play the game that goes completely and utterly destroyed by evil forces and not allowed to be the best game of its type that has ever existed, and it is the best game of its type that's ever existed. I'm going to say Titanfall 2, which is also $2.99, is definitely one you should get.
Yep.
I wrote a massive praise of Titanfall 2 when it came out, and literally it was just me, some crickets, and one guy who ended up working for Apex Legends because he actually had cogent points, and I was just going, "It's so good, I'm crying." If you want to love a robot more than you have ever loved a robot before, yes, even the Iron Giant, play Titanfall 2.
Agreed.
If you are one of those few people who has not played Borderlands, Borderlands 3, $2.99.
Tales from the Borderlands is also on sale.
Yes, Tales from the Borderlands, really good. There are so many games that you can pick up for a few dollars. You can add them to your terribly long gaming queue. Baldur's Gate 3 is still on sale. I think it's 20 or 25% off, which is a good deal if you have not played it. And there's a big patch coming out in the new year that will add a bunch of new subclasses. Elden Ring is on sale for 40% off. If you have not played that and you are into Souls-like weird fantasy games, it's there. It's there. There are just too many great sales too.
Yeah, there's also a lot of the newer titles are also on sale at various places as well too. Just want to throw that out there. It's not just old stuff. They're not as deep of a discount, but like the new Ninja Turtles multiplayer roguelike beat 'em up just came out. And it's like an isometric, like it's like Hades and Ninja Turtles had a baby. Except you can play up to 4 players at a time. That's on sale already. Like various fighting games are on sale if those are your things. Like there's a wide array of newer stuff that is also on sale. So if you were on the fence about some of them, it might be your time to take a look. And not just on Steam, but everybody's doing something similar. So Xbox has theirs going on. Epic Games has theirs going on. The PlayStation Network has theirs going on. Nintendo is still Nintendo and doesn't like sales. So like you have plenty of options. Now is the time of year that to see what you can scoop up.
I'm going to throw one more at you before we move on to something else. Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader is on sale for 45% off. This is a game that came out last year. I don't think it got the attention it deserves. I mean, for one thing, Baldur's Gate 3 came out. It was sort of like being any game of the computer RPG type when Skyrim came out. God, I'm looking at you, Kingdoms of Amalur. But this was definitely a really good narrative heavy and dark RPG. Not grim dark, although it certainly could be called that since it's
it skews. Yeah, it definitely skews closer to that. But I will say that it is very critically acclaimed and player acclaimed as well. And if this was Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 93% fresh rating. So it's worth your time if you're into sort of the CRPG stuff.
And if you're a Warhammer fan but don't necessarily like CRPGs all that much, I definitely think this is the one to play.
Agreed.
Because it totally deals heavy with an aspect of the Warhammer setting that you don't always get.
Yeah.
But, that's just my tip of the hat into that one.
And I should note it also has a companion system. So if you like games with companions, there you go.
But speaking of that, go ahead, Liz.
Another brand new game on sale, Hades 2, which is not even out. It's in early access, is 10% off, which isn't a huge discount, but
for a game that doesn't actually sale yet,
it's not on sale, but it's already on sale.
And it's one of those games where I've been playing since it released in early access, and it was one of the first games I reinstalled when I moved over to the new computer. So highly worth your time if you enjoyed Hades 1. It is definitely a lot of different mechanics, but super fun game if it's something you are tangentially or even remotely interested in. 10% off. I mean, it's honestly not bad. And you get to help shape it as another company that listens to feedback of its players. So, options. You have options.
One thing on sale, not on Steam, that I've been on the fence about is Pacific Drive. Have either of y'all tried that or looked at that?
No, but I have a friend who absolutely loves it and won't stop telling me I have to play it. So
yeah, Anna on the site loves it and talks about it, and I'm like, I would either love this or it would make me crazy because it's it's kind of it's like a survival game, but it's a driving survival game in which you're like maintaining and upgrading your car in a weird, creepy version of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I've watched playthroughs of it, and I think I'm going to keep it as watching playthroughs from it, just because it's a particular flavor of survival horror that I'm not too keen on.
Yeah, it's interesting though. But yeah, that's on sale on PlayStation Network, I think is where I found that one.
Okay,
Yes.
I want to talk really quickly about the Blizzard Watch Games of the Year.
Yes,
for 2024. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. It's a little bit of an indie game. Not many people have heard about it. Apparently, some folks on our site liked Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I'm not going to sit here and go on and on about it because they have tranquilizer guns waiting. They'll get me. There's just too many kill lanes. I'll be taken right out. But nevertheless, that was our most loved by people game for the year.
We took votes on what everyone's favorite game of the year is, and we got a lot of like one vote games. We got a ton of one vote games, and only a couple that got more than one vote because we, as a site, we're kind of all over the map in what we like. So it makes a very interesting list, but it was kind of obvious what the top one was going to be. We've got too many RPG fans here.
Yeah, and so we're not gonna. I will mention, however, that Balatro got up here, and whilst it is not a game that I played a lot, I respect Phil for putting it up here because it just did so odd. It's so odd. As Anna
it came out of
said
nowhere.
It came out of nowhere, and it is a one developer game. This was a solo developer that put out this weird solitaire poker game. Solitaire poker trading card roguelike. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
It feels like Magic the Gathering met Solitaire, and then the two of them went off to do like Hades. It's just odd. It's a weird game. But yeah, it is unique in a way that like games aren't often unique.
It's interesting that it came out and it's unique and it's not backed by a big studio. One person had this vision to make this weird card game, and it resonated with so many people out there. It was actually nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. It didn't win it, but I was shocked that such a small title got there.
This goes back to what I was talking about last week, where you're starting to see indie games like over the last several years really flourish and get attention, and showing what grassroots word of mouth can really do. Because like Balatro is a game that like, yeah, it's a solo developer, and we've seen solo developer games really blow up, like Stardew Valley and other things like that. But it really shows how much, say, a friend going, hey, I found this really weird indie game that's really a lot of fun, and it's insert all of these words here, and then you go, oh, yeah, okay, I'll try it. Why not? And then it just kind of keeps rolling through and spreading. That's exactly what happened here, and it's super nice to see it get that attention and be nominated for a Game of the Year.
Okay, so we're going to hand up to one question here that we've got. Zionin asked this question. I don't see a pronunciation guide for your name, Zionin, so I'm going to hope I got it right. I'm a longtime listener of the podcast, starting back on the old site. However, a first-time question. I was listening to today's BW and talked about the recent Heroes of the Storm patch. I was surprised to hear that HOTS is still getting some work. However, it got me wondering, Blizzard is now a Microsoft property, so what if Microsoft decided to revive HOTS? Not just revive it, but also bring heroes from other Microsoft-owned IPs. Could we see Master Chief battling slings? Is that what that says? Battling slings. I don't know what the slings are.
That is what that say. I think he's misstating, but...
Battling alongside, maybe?
Yeah,
that was
it was supposed to be alongside.
Yeah, battling alongside Jaina or Jim Raynor. I'm just going to say up front, could we see that? Yes. Do I expect to see that? No. Would I like to see that? Yes. You don't really realize just how many people could show up if they did this.
You kind of do though.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say,
well, you do, but you don't think about it. I don't think about it, and then you mentioned it, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, Fallout! Every character from Fallout could pop up. Oh my God, Elder Scrolls."
So the interesting thing, like this question made me think of something that I would really love to see, and I can hear Corey maybe on board with this. I don't know where he is with it, but this is actually a point that I've been thinking about in terms of Smash likes. So over the last 4 years, 3-4 years, we've had a bunch of Smash likes that have released because Smash Brothers did really well on the Switch. It's been a very popular game. So platform fighters have been the thing. So Sony has their own. Hell, Nintendo has their own. I'm sorry, Nintendo. Nickelodeon, I meant, has their own. Where, you can...
Warner Brothers got their own. That doesn't even make any sense, but they got it.
Yeah, and so like these have been around, and they're not bad games. They're actually pretty good games. But nobody's done that with an isometric, basically a League of Legends Dota-like game. You have sometimes skins that cross over, but you've never really seen people take other IPs into that format. And I think it would be a really cool thing, especially if Microsoft said, you have access to all of our IPs, put them in your game as you see fit. Let's revitalize this genre. And that's the other thing. There's an opportunity here where Blizzard and Microsoft could, if they so choose, shake up the Dota-like game and really add something new that hasn't been seen in years. I mean, League of Legends is a pretty static formula for the most part, minus equipment changes and map changes and hero balancing. Why not do something that does like Smash Brothers does and have all these different IPs into it and give you a different experience with them? Yes, you can have Master Chief. Pretty sure you could have Crash Bandicoot, because I think that's an Activision title, isn't it?
Yeah, Toys for Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have Ratchet and Clank. You could have
Spyro.
You could have Spyro. There are so many characters that you could put in here that would work. And I think it would be a really fun exercise. So do I think we're going to get it? No. Do I think there's an opportunity here for it? Yes. Would I absolutely lose my mind if it happened? Yes. I would probably need to be ripped away from my computer because I would probably not go to work for like a week.
I will also point out things that you might not realize is that Gears of War is owned by Xbox Game Studios. So, if you want to see a lot of dudes with really big chins and necks and shoulders, Gears of War has got a plethora.
Leafield, what are you doing here?
Yeah, Marcus Phoenix, and his friend who died, whose name I forget. I'm sorry, but Marcus Phoenix and Master Chief standing next to each other, alongside. Like, there's just a lot of possibility here. Man, just think of all the various Elder Scrolls characters who could show up, like Parthenax. The big dragon just shows up. It's like, what is he doing here? We've already got 2 dragons in this game. More than 2, right? There's at least 2 dragons in Heroes of the Storm, right? There's Alexstrasza, and there's another one.
There's Ysera
and Alexstrasza.
Ysera.
Yeah.
Deathwing.
So,
yeah, we got some dragons.
There's a lot of dragons.
So you could just have Parthenax and I forget the evil one, but I shouldn't. But he shows up. You could just keep throwing dragons at it. Just wow! I can't believe I never thought of this. Oh wow, Liz, you got anything to say before we close up?
I think at some point we're definitely going to see Heroes of the Storm coming back. I think the
I would
fact
love
that they are
nothing more.
maintaining it with a monthly balance patch suggests they're thinking about it. They still have some active development on it. You would not get this much. A monthly patch is not a small thing. And they're making some pretty big balance changes whenever they roll one of these out. So I definitely think it is coming back. Whether they're going to take such a big step and make it a big crossover event, I don't know. But it would be really, really fun.
Just imagine, remember those old days when they used to have the little trailers for the new champions? Imagine they start doing one and then suddenly it's freaking Master Chief.
Master Chief giving a fist bump to Spyro as they charge into battle.
Oh my God, the Doom Marine.
Yeah, Doom Marine. You could have the Doom Marine.
You could also have the vampires from Redfall, but they're not going to. All right, Joe, if you don't mind.
Sure, Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means that this podcast signing community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance of having your question answered on our podcast with a Q&A and ads-free site experience.
Thank you very much, Joe. Also, thanks you to everyone listening for allowing Liz, Joe, and myself to be here on your holiday. Thank you guys so much. We wanted to make sure we did a show this week, and so it would be there because the holidays do kind of disrupt things, but at the same time, you want to have like a moment to forget about all the things in the world that you might not want to be thinking about. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to Liz for making sure that we did this, because sometimes Liz has to do a lot of roundup, guys. You sometimes I think they should just actually put Chief Cattle Rustler on her title thing, because sometimes seriously it's like herding cats. So thank you to Liz especially, and thank you to Joe for all the recording and so forth he has to do to make sure we have a podcast to give you and all the editing. And well, thank you to me for not dying, I guess. I keep showing up. I guess that's my contribution.
That's a good day. That's a good day.
But yeah, this has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you guys so much. I have no idea when the next show is. Could be not one. Could be next week. I honestly don't know.
I think we're going to do another one, and I'm going to try and gather up some anniversary. What am I saying? Some kind of roundup of the year's big news to talk about.
Alrighty. Thank you, Liz. And take it over, everybody.